You think you're just an average guy? Nothing too special? Not the type girls flock to? Then perhaps you're exactly the kind of man who's most attractive, but doesn't even realize it. In this world, women often give off very subtle signals when they're attracted, but not everyone is alert enough to notice. It's not overt flirting, not a shoulder touch or an obvious smile. It's a fleeting glance, a coincidental presence next to you, that silence when others listen as you speak, and the quiet envy from other men. If you've ever asked yourself, why does she keep showing up near me? Or, why do I keep catching someone stealing glances at me all night? Then you need to stay until the very end of this video, because I'm going to show you 8 subtle yet incredibly accurate signs that you're far more attractive than you think. And once you recognize them, you'll stop searching for validation from anyone else. Sign 1. A glance that's quick, but charged with meaning. If a glance lasts more than a second, then quickly turns away like someone just flashed a spotlight into her heart, that's not just reflex. That's a silent language, refined and intentional, one women have been practicing since they were young. The visual code. No words, no gestures, just a brief look that carries more weight than a whole paragraph of text. You won't catch her staring. Not at all. A woman who's graceful and emotionally intelligent knows that even a fleeting look, if held deep enough, can make a man think about it the entire day. And when she looks away, it's not because she's lost interest, but because she wants you to wonder, to make you ask, did I imagine that? Did she really just look at me? Or am I just overthinking? I once witnessed this on a subway in New York. A man stood near the door, coffee in hand, eyes lazily gazing at the floor. 2 seats over was a woman. They didn't exchange a single word. But in the 12-minute ride, I saw their eyes meet at least 3 times. Each moment was fast, soft, but full of meaning. No greetings, no smiles. But if you've ever had a train crush, you'll understand. It's a silent conversation between 2 souls. The fascinating part is these glances usually happen when you're not trying to be noticed. You're just being yourself, lost in some moment of stillness, and suddenly someone notices something in you, your calm, your depth, or simply the energy you didn't even know you were radiating. She looks, then quickly turns away like she's been caught doing something forbidden. But if you catch her looking again later, don't doubt it, that's no coincidence. Real attraction doesn't need to be loud. It begins with a look, disappears into a moment, and stays lingering in memory, long after it ends. Sign 2. She always coincidentally appears near you. You think she just happens to be around you? Same time, same place, same frequency? Not a chance. The world might allow for some coincidences, but when a woman consistently places herself near you again and again, it's rarely fate. It's a social strategy disguised so naturally that even you doubt it's real. Attraction isn't just what pulls someone toward you. It's what makes them want to stay close, even without an invitation. A perceptive woman won't directly ask, "Do you have a girlfriend?" Instead, she'll simply linger near you long enough for you to ask yourself, why is she always hovering nearby? That's the art of proximity. Not aggressive, but never absent. And the more grounded you are, the more likely someone will want to drift into your orbit, over and over. A friend of mine in San Diego told me he used to hit the gym around 6 a.m., a pretty lonely time. Yet there was always one girl who showed up at that hour, always coincidentally working out near him. The gym was big, but she somehow always chose the section with the best lighting, full mirrors, and of course, the exact place where he did his shoulder warm-ups. At first he thought it was random, but after a few weeks when he changed his schedule, she changed hers too. That was the moment his doubt vanished. It wasn't coincidence. It was a plan he wasn't aware of. True attraction needs no banners or fireworks. It simply asks that you show up, steady, unshaken, like an invisible anchor, and others will naturally gravitate toward you, position themselves nearby, hoping that one day you'll notice. And when you do, there's no need to rush. Just keep being who you are, doing your thing, and let the space around you tell the story that no one dares to speak aloud. Sign 3. When you speak, the whole room goes quiet. There are people who don't need to raise their voices, don't need to wave their hands or fight for attention. Just by speaking, the whole room seems to hold its breath. Not because they force others to listen, but because they carry an energy that makes people want to listen. This is attraction at a deeper level than appearances, a kind of social gravity that naturally draws eyes and attention toward them. Psychology calls this the halo effect. When someone has a standout trait that generates goodwill, such as good looks, a deep voice, or a composed demeanor, others tend to assume they also possess other positive qualities: intelligence, reliability, leadership. And so unconsciously we begin to treat them as if they deserve respect, even before they've done anything to prove it. I remember being invited to a strategy meeting of an amateur soccer team on the outskirts of Houston. Everyone knew each other, except one new guy who worked as the gatekeeper and helped hand out bibs. He didn't speak much, just stood there, back straight, arms gently crossed, eyes calmly observing. When the discussion began to spiral into chaos due to too many conflicting opinions, he quietly spoke up. Not loudly, not sharply. Yet somehow everyone stopped to listen. After he shared a few concise thoughts, someone suddenly said, "I think he should be the team captain." Everyone nodded, no one objected, no vote was needed. It just felt right. You see, real charisma doesn't lie in how much you say, but in the quality of your presence when you speak. A grounded voice, unflinching eye contact, and the deliberate pauses between your words, all are signs that you don't need to prove anything. And that very lack of urgency is what makes others trust you more. Sign 4. She mirrors your body language. Not everyone realizes that the body can speak before the mouth even forms words. When someone starts copying your body language, the way you lean, where you place your hands, even how you scratch your head or swirl your drink, it's a clear sign that their nervous system is trying to connect with yours at a subconscious level. And women, when they're attracted, often do this instinctively, even without realizing it themselves. This is known as the mirroring phenomenon in social psychology. When someone unconsciously imitates your movements, it shows they're emotionally tuned in, syncing their energy with yours. And they find you attractive. It's like their body is saying, "I get you, I feel close to you, I want to be in rhythm with you." I remember one sunny afternoon in Austin, sitting at my favorite taco spot near UT. At the table opposite sat a woman eating alone, scrolling her phone while munching on a burrito. I wasn't trying to talk, just sipping my drink, lost in thought. At one point, I rubbed my nose lightly from the salsa spice. A moment later, she did the same, even though she hadn't touched anything spicy. It was so uncanny that I had to suppress a laugh. A few minutes later, I shifted my posture, resting my head on my hand. And almost as if on delay, she did the exact same thing. I'm not sure if she realized it, but one thing I knew for sure, I had entered her field of awareness. The body doesn't lie. When someone repeatedly mimics your small gestures, it's not because you're flashy. It's because you're radiating an emotional field they want to melt into. And strangely, this subtle copycat behavior creates a space that feels safe, familiar, as if the two of you had already met in another life. Sign 5. You get compliments about things no one else sees. There's a kind of compliment that no longer focuses on how you look, but how you make people feel. When someone says, "You have such a calm voice," or "I don't know why, but talking to you makes me feel at ease," then congratulations. You've moved beyond the shell of physical attraction and stepped into the mysterious realm of energetic presence. At this level, attractiveness no longer lies in your appearance, but in the field you generate. Some people walk into a room and the energy softens. Some don't say much, but make others feel safe, heard and grounded, like a steady anchor in a world full of noise. That's the essence of a man who's been through storms and no longer needs to prove anything. I remember once having a conversation on the rooftop balcony of a cafe in Los Angeles, a gentle breeze passing over a half-finished matcha. The woman across from me, mid-sentence, suddenly paused and said, "You know what? You have this healing vibe." I laughed, teasing, "So I'm your long-lost yoga instructor?" She smiled, but her eyes didn't joke. That came from something real. You can't fake that kind of energy. It doesn't come from memorizing clever lines, nor from flashy confidence. It comes from how fully you show up, being truly present, not interrupting, not trying to impress, yet leaving an impression no one can quite explain. And that is what women remember longer than any muscles or charming smile. When a compliment shifts from "you're handsome" to "I feel lighter when I'm near you," you're no longer just someone to look at, but someone people think about when their heart is tired. And that kind of attraction never goes out of style. Sign 6. You keep getting secretly stared at. There are glances that don't need to linger to be etched into memory. Just a brief look, enough for you to realize it wasn't random, then vanishing as if it never happened. But that very unintentional glance lingers the longest. Because if those secret glances happen repeatedly, they're no longer just curiosity. They're attraction hiding beneath layers of shyness, reservation, and maybe even hope. Not everyone has the courage to look directly at someone they're drawn to. Especially women, those who are used to masking their emotions through subtle expressions and gentle gestures. But the eyes, they're harder to hide. Whether in a busy cafe or a vast airport terminal, if someone keeps looking at you, then looking away, then looking again, that's a kind of wordless signal. I see you, and I hope you see me too, without making me feel exposed. I still clearly remember one afternoon waiting for a flight at LAX. Nothing special about the day. I was reading my book when I felt someone looking at me. I looked up and caught the eyes of a young woman across from me, just for half a second. Then she quickly turned away, staring hard out the window like she was waiting for a spaceship. I smiled and looked back at my book. The next time I looked up, I caught that same gaze again, and again she turned away. By the fourth time I looked up first and saw she had already been looking, this time too late to turn away in time. I smiled wider, and that time she truly blushed. That wasn't blatant flirting. That was a silent dance between two people, one sending a signal and the other receiving it. These stolen glances, though brief, say so much. That you're on their mind, that they're wondering if they should let you know, and that even if they're not bold enough to speak, they're hoping you'll catch on. Sometimes real attraction isn't about how you walk into a room. It's about how many times a stranger's eyes instinctively find their way back to you. Sign 7. Other men either respect you or feel threatened. Have you ever noticed how when a man with real presence walks into a room, the atmosphere shifts? Not because he's loud or wearing an expensive suit. Sometimes he's just in a plain t-shirt, old sneakers, but every step he takes makes others readjust themselves. One guy sits up straighter, another suddenly tells a louder joke than usual. That's not coincidence. That's a sign of a presence that surpasses people's comfort zone. When you're the kind of man who makes others reevaluate themselves, you're not just attractive to women, you provoke reactions from other men. And those reactions usually fall into one of two categories: respect or competition. Those who respect you will listen when you speak, introduce you to others, and ask your opinion in social settings. Those who feel threatened will find subtle ways to prove they're not beneath you, even if you never intended to compete. I once sat at a small barbershop in the south side of Chicago, the kind of place where local guys hang out every weekend, cracking jokes as they get their trims. But that day, a man walked in, tall, with calm but confident eyes. The whole shop fell silent for a few seconds. The barber looked up and asked, "Same as usual, boss?" No one joked like before. One guy straightened his collar. Another stared longer into the mirror. And though nothing was said, I knew. They'd all sensed someone had entered the room, not to boast or dominate, but someone they'd have to reckon with. That kind of presence can't be learned overnight. It comes from experience, from how you stand, from a gaze that doesn't dodge, from the ability to command attention without asking for it. When other men see you as either a leader or a rival, it's a clear sign you've crossed the line from merely being noticed to being respected. And women? They sense that faster than you think. Sign 8. Everyone assumes you're talking to someone. There's an interesting paradox in dating. The less you talk about being single, the more people assume you're not. Your calmness, your lack of oversharing about your love life, your refusal to brag or chase attention, even the way you don't rush to reply to texts, all of it creates an atmosphere that makes others think, he must be juggling 3 relationships right now. But that's not fake. That's the natural ease of a man who doesn't need to prove he's wanted. And ironically, that very energy makes people curious. The less you seek validation from the outside, the more others project their own ideas onto you. In psychology, this is called projected desire. People assign you attractive traits simply because you're not trying to prove them. I remember chatting with a girl at a small cocktail bar in Seattle. Mid-conversation, she tilted her head and said, "I bet your inbox is full of girls waiting for replies." I just smiled, didn't confirm, didn't deny. And in that moment I saw her expression shift from curiosity to challenge, as if she was thinking, I'm going to be the one he replies to first. The funny thing is, I wasn't trying to create that impression. I just didn't explain anything. At this level, attraction isn't about compliments or glances anymore. It's about intentional silence. You're not distant, but you're not predictable either. And because you're not trying to impress, people can't help but wonder, who is he really? Women are especially attuned to this. They won't ask directly how many girls you're talking to, but in their minds, they've already guessed a number and hope they're not just another in the queue. When people assume you have options, you don't need to add anything to become attractive. You just need to stay quiet enough for them to hear their own curiosity. Conclusion. Accept the truth. You're attractive. If you've seen yourself in any of these signs, those secret glances, the coincidental appearances of someone near you, the unique compliments, or the respectful silence of the opposite sex, then stop doubting. This isn't an illusion. It's a magnetic field you've been radiating without even realizing. You don't need to try anymore. True attraction doesn't need to perform. It lives in your ability to be fully present within yourself, without apology, without explanation, without rushing. Don't go seeking validation from the outside, because the people watching you are already asking themselves, who is this guy, and why can't I look away? Remember, you don't need to be the life of every party. You just need to be the quiet flame others are drawn to, without understanding why. And if someday you start doubting yourself again, just remember this. The most attractive man isn't the one admired by many. He's the one so grounded in himself that others feel the need to reevaluate who they are just by being near him.